Okay, in this video we're going to look at the first 5 questions from the January 2007 C1 exam paper and Edexcel exam board. Okay, so number 1 is fairly simple now. I'm assuming that you know how to differentiate. So what we're going to do is look at the first question. Now it's asking you to find out dy dx for this equation here. So remember, the first thing you do, get this indices, so it's 4x cubed, and times it by a coefficient of x. So in this case, dy by dx will equal 12x squared. Now remember, this minus 1, a number, if you differentiate it, it will give you nothing. Multiply the half by the 2, which will just give you 1. So we just put down x. We don't put down the 1 in front of it because I know there's only one x there. And a half, take away whole 1, and just be to the power of minus a half. Okay, so that's your answer to the first one. Now number 2 is asking you to express the root 108 in the form of a and root 3. Now this root 3 is a clue as to how you can get, or how you will go about solving this root 8. So what you have to do is, if you look into surds, find two numbers that multiply that can give you root 108, bearing in mind that you'll have to eventually simplify it so you get a root 3. So now what you can do is, question A, root 18 will equal root 4 times the root of 27. Now you know you can simplify this to, because root 4 will give you 2, root 27. But then how do I make root 3? Now what I can do is, if you simplify root 27, that can be written as root 9 times 3. Now root 9 is equal to 3, and that will give you 3 root 3. Now if we bring this back into here, we're saying that it's 2, and this dot can represent times as well. 2 times 3 root 3, which if I simplify that further will just give me 6 root 3, and then this is my final answer. So A will be 6. Okay, part B is asking you to expand or express 2 minus root 3 squared. So again, you can just rewrite this as 2 brackets. Now we want it in the form of b plus c root 3. Okay, but just go ahead by expanding this. So 2 times 2 will give you 4, minus root 3 times 2, so minus 2 root 3. Again, we're doing the same here. 2 times minus root 3 will just give you minus 2 root 3. Now then remember, root 3 times root 3, when you got two same numbers, they'll just give you the number inside. They cancel out. So root 3 times root 3 will give you 3, and because you've got two negatives, make a plus. So if I was to simplify this, 4 plus 3 is 7, minus 2 root 3 minus 2 root 3 is just minus 4 root 3. Okay, and then they wanted it in this format here, so b plus c root 3. So therefore giving you your b is equal to 7 and c is equal to minus 4. Okay, so if you're struggling with this, go back and practice on expanding brackets with surds in them. Okay, moving on to question 3. Now you're given that 1 over x. Okay, you're given the function of x is 1 over x, and you've got sketched a graph of f of x plus 3. Now what this means, in essence, what we're doing is 1 over x plus 3. Now the graph of 1 over x will just look like this. Okay, so that's y equals 1 over x. What they want you to do is draw this one here. So remember, this number will shift the lines up by 3. So this is, remember, it's just a sketch, so we can have that there, and then this one will come down here. Okay, so maybe you might want to bring this slightly closer. So let me redraw this one. Okay, so just going up by 3. There we go. Right, so therefore this is now gone up by 3, and it's also now 2 parts of this question, so probably 2 marks for getting this bit right. So you're showing it going up by 3, and now state the equation of the asymptotes. Now what is an asymptote? An asymptote is basically you're going to have a line that a curve approaches but never touches. So an asymptote is a line that a curve approaches but never touches. So if you look at this curve or a line, the curve is approaching the y-axis, also approaching the x-axis, but it will never touch them, even in this one here. Okay, so best thing to do is draw your line here. So we call this like a vertical asymptote. Yours should be more accurate because if you do it on square paper, and we're going to put down 3 over here. Okay, so you just put down 3 over there. So what this is trying to say that it's approaching the y equals 3 and x equals 0. Because on this line over here, let's say because we moved up to 3, alright, your y-axis is cutting at a 3. And then on your x-axis, it's on here, it's on 0. So these will be your 2 points for your asymptotes. Now the second part of the question is find the coordinates of the point where f of x plus 3 crosses a coordinate axis. Now the coordinate axis is basically what happens, what you have to put down is when y is equal to 0. Okay, so what you're going to have is 0 equals 1 over x plus 3. And then if you solve this, there's 2 ways you can do this. I would take the minus 3 to the other side or just multiply everything by x. I'll choose to multiply everything by x, so x times 0 will just give you 0. 1x times x will give you x, and then that will give you plus 3x. If you take that 1 across, becomes a minus 1, and divided by 3. So minus 1/3 equal x. So therefore what you say is that the coordinates of the point where this graph will cross a coordinate axis, so meaning the x-axis here, will be minus 1/3 and 0. So this will be your answer to be. And it does make sense because if you think about it, this is your negative quadrant, this is your negative axis here in this part. It looks like it's a minus 1/3, even start from 1 here, and your y value will be 0. So this is your x value, and that's your y value. Alright, so remember to work out where it crosses the coordinate axis, just put down when y is equal to 0 and put your equation over here and solve it for x and y. Alright, simultaneous equations. Okay, so already given you what y is equal to. Remember you label this 1, and that's your equation 2, just to make it clear and you're working out. 7-mark question. Okay, so first we're going to do y equals x minus 2. So we just sub that into 1, so we can say that we're going to sub 1 into equation 2. So what you will have is x minus 2 squared plus x squared will equal 10. Alright, now if you were to expand this, that'll give you x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus x squared will equal 10. I've just expanded this, okay? If you want to expand it just to x minus 2, bracket x minus 2 again, right, in brackets. Alright, let's simplify what we can here. So we've got 2x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 10. Bring the 10 over, so it'll be 2x squared minus 4x minus 6. So all I've done is I've done 4 minus 10. Okay, so now what I can do, remember I have to factorize now, so I can divide these by 2 to simplify even more. X squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. You shouldn't have to factorize these. If when you do factorize, you should get x plus 1, and then x minus 3. 1 minus 3 minus, yep, that works. And remember to get your values, x will equal minus 1 and x will equal 3. Now you subdivide back into the equation. Could put it into equation 1. So when x equals minus 1, you're going to put it back into this equation here. So y will equal minus 1 minus 2, y will equal minus 3, and then when x equals 3, y will equal 3 minus 2, and then y will equal 1. Okay, so those be your values. Obviously your work will be in this section here. Just write down in a neater way, just write down what you're doing, especially for the examiner. So when x is equal to minus 1, you're just showing what you're doing, and then you can finalize or summarize your answers by saying x is equal to minus 1, y will equal to minus 3, x is equal to, was it 3, and then y will equal to 1. And those will be your final answers, okay? Alright, coming on to question 5 now. It's saying the equation 2x squared minus 3x minus brackets k plus 1 equals 0, where k is a constant, has no real roots. Now, the key thing you have to identify here is has no real roots. Now, what does that mean? If this equation has a solution, therefore has roots, right? This equation does not have any solution. So x, we don't know what the value of x is when this equation is equal to 0. That's what it means by has no real roots. So find the set of possible values of k. Now, if you recall the equation for solving quadratics, it was minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, now remember we can't square root a negative number, so therefore for this equation to have no real roots, no solution, this bit here has to be less than 0. So b squared minus 4ac has to be a negative. Okay, so this bit has to be less than 0. Now in this instance this will be a, so your 2 will be a, and b will be 3, and then k plus 1. Just separate these up. So a will be 2, b will be minus 3, and then c will be this minus k plus 1. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it over here. So what we have then, if we sub those values in, is minus 3 squared minus 4. Okay, because we're doing minus 4ac. A is 2. Okay, now you've got to be careful here because c is all of this bit minus k plus 1. So put that in a square bracket. There's minus k plus 1. And all of that has to be less than 0. Okay, so if we solve this now, minus 3 squared will be 9 plus minus 4 times 2. Now minus 4 times 2 will give you minus 8, but we're timesing it by this minus here. Okay, so therefore that will give me plus 8. Okay, and now I can get, because I've got rid of this bracket, I will k plus 1. And all of that has to be equal to 0. Alright, so I hope you guys understand that. Remember, I've taken c to be minus k plus 1, but that minus is outside the bracket, so I'll put this in square brackets. In order to open this up, minus 8 times that minus will give me a plus. Then you're left with, these brackets go, you're left with k plus 1. All of that is equal to 0. Okay, 9 plus, if we multiply this out, so you can have 9 plus 8k plus 8, it has to be less than 0. 9 plus 8 will equal 17 plus 8k, all has to be less than 0. 8k will equal minus 17, and you guessed it, k has to be less than minus 17 all over 8. So k is any number less than minus 17 over 8, therefore it cannot have any roots. Okay, so feel free to go back through the questions, have a look at the solutions, try them yourselves if you're struggling, and we'll start looking at the next 5 questions of this exam paper. Thanks for watching.